When thinking about what I wanted to demo today, I thought life has been so complicated for all of us of late, and I thought let's keep it simple. It's what I've been doing in my own art. I find that throughout the past couple of years, I've strived to keep whatever I do as simple as I can, and I think that's just a reflection of how complicated life has been. And when I express myself through art, I feel like enjoying myself and not making it complicated. I think in terms of simplifying whatever I can and in life now. And that goes along with my art. So what I'm doing is working on pastel mat, which is a fantastic surface that I love because it has a lot of tooth, but it feels very smooth. It comes in all different colors. I happened to grab a yellow piece today. I'm working in very, very soft pastels. Whatever the softest that you have is what you should choose. I'm starting building in the dark in this meadow scene. And I'm starting with the softest pastels because I'm going to be working with the sponge today. And the reason I like the sponge is because it creates a real soft surface, and I can, especially with soft pastels, I can move it around and keep everything very simple. Getting a little green up in there, gotta be careful. And by the way, I use one sponge per color. So I wouldn't use this sponge that I'm dipping into blue in the green. I'm gonna grab another sponge for the green, and I'm gonna just smear that in. I want to just set this in. This can be done on a sanded paper like UArt, or even Canson. The inexpensive Canson Mutantes paper is great for this. I would use the back side, which is the smooth side, because you don't want to be fighting the bumps. But anyway, there I have a nice, simple start. And I have an underpainting without having to use anything, any alcohol or any water on here. Skim back in, and again, my mantra for today is keep it simple. Going from dark down to light as the sky gradiates down because of the atmosphere. It's lighter towards the horizon. I have this flower sort of smack dab in the center of my photo reference because it's leaning that way. I think I'm going to move it over to the left and let it lead back into the painting. All right, this is moving along really quickly and nicely. I'm going to come back in now with some of my lighter greens. This is a warmer. I chose two greens for all the grasses. A warmer one that I can use in the foreground and a slightly cooler one. Both are sort of mid-tone, but the cooler one I'll use towards the back to create a little depth. The rule of thumb is to use cooler colors to push the background back. And then as I come forward, I don't want to cover up all those darks because I need those darks in between blades of grass. So it comes into the foreground. My pastel has a little dip in the middle of it, so it's, as I run it across, it's creating two lines, which is kind of nice. Sort of just notes for myself that it's got to get warmer in the foreground. Don't want to do too much more until I place my flowers. All right, so I'm going in with my, from dark to light in each section, I'm going in with my dark, creating this flower. And I didn't do any preliminary drawing, as you could see. I want to keep it simple. And I'm going to keep the shapes of these flowers simple also. I just want to create something that gives the idea of these little flowers. This is from this reference from a wonderful little family-owned flower farm my husband and I went to a couple of weeks ago in central Ohio, below Worcester, Ohio. And they have fields of flowers of different kinds that you can pick. So they give you a bucket and you can walk out, and scissors, and you can walk out and clip off stems. So it was a lot of fun. And they, needless to say, they change at different times of the year. So I'm anxious to go back there when the peonies are in bloom. They have irises in the spring, peonies. I'm excited. I'm going to create this little light one right now. Actually, I'm going to go a little darker first and come back with the light, keeping it smaller. And I'm going to actually blur this out a little bit because it's at a distance. I'm not getting crazy about the shapes. I'm keeping it simple in my mind and on my board. I want to just enjoy this process. I'm switching now to my lavender. I've got this sort of violet purple. It has more red in it, and I've got this bluer purple. Here we go, a little bit darker. That's better anyway. That looks so nice against that green. I love when I see contrasting colors that pop against each other. Maybe I'll skim a little of that in here. And let's see if there's any of that that I can spread around. Going back to this lighter pink. I love the way these flowers look like they're just moving in the breeze, even in the photo, which they were. A lot of little pinks here. Just very blurry and subtle as it moves away from the foreground. And then I'm coming back in with a lighter pink, very light, to create the edges on this. And it really serves as white. This light pink just serves as whatever lights I have in there. That's my lightest light. All right, let's come back in and bring in my yellows and reds. And I've got two reds. One's more of a little deeper, and this one's like a bright orange. It's more of a fire engine red, a little deeper. Coming back with a couple pops of color. Pops of brighter value, I should say. And I've got two yellows. One's a little bit warmer, deeper, and one's a little bit lighter for the highlights. And I see a few little yellow flowers over here. In the center of this flower, it goes red, and I need to go with that brighter. And inside it is the yellow. Just giving that a little more shape, because these two are important. Well, that one primarily. And there's another one down here. And you'll see I'm going to do something sort of fun here. As I've done in a couple of recent videos, I'm going to be going back into this with some chunks, broken chunks of pastel. and give this a more random sprinkling of flowers. Okay, now I'm going to come back in with some stems. I have a dark green new pastel that I've sharpened to a point. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to come back in and finish this off down here, give myself a little more dark. Give this a little depth. And I can carve around these flowers to create more specific shapes. It's fun. I like doing negative painting like this, where I don't worry so much about the actual shape that I'm making, but I come back in and do a little negative painting, and it's really a fun way to work, sort of clean things up. Okay, you're ready to come back in now with my dark green and make a couple of stems. There's one that comes up here, and that looks like a little yellow flower. And I'm going to add a little bit of the pink to it. I see there's a little stamen on this. Again, adding a little pink to it. I'm just sort of blending on here. It's creating sort of an orange look. And there's a bunch of delicate little flowers popping up. And I see darker stems in here. A lot going on, but I don't want to have to worry about being too specific. And I'm going to come back in with a slightly lighter new pastel. And something even a little bit lighter. That wasn't popping quite enough for me. There we go. My little broken piece of pastel, I'm going to just create a little cool cluster in the distance, just softening this. See, there's a little tree line back here, and I actually really like that, so I'm going to come back and put that in. I think it gives a nice little balance to the piece. A little bit of that cool green on top of it, just a real soft touch. And I'm going to blend that with my finger. I want everything to be soft back there. But I'm going to come back in and do a little bit of negative painting here and make some final marks in the sky. A few little sky holes. Come back in here with a few little marks. I'm barely touching. I'm literally letting this just drag along. It could probably fall out of my hand if I let it, but I'm just letting it barely touch. Standing back to assess if I need anything else to help it pop. And I think I need something a little brighter here. And I think I need to go a little darker back in here because I see sort of a little corridor in my photo that this flower comes out of, and I kind of like that. Come back in and recarve this a little bit and make a little more sense of it. And I'm coming back in with a little bit of the warm green vegetation down here. Just some finishing marks. And one more pass with my sponge, with a clean sponge, just to soften these edges a little bit back here. And I'm moving the sponge to make sure I'm using a clean edge. I can soften a little of this. As things move into the background, I want them to be less defined. And I think that's it. What I'm going to do now is take this over to my table, add a few bits of pastel that I'll be breaking up, and I will get back and show you the finished product.